Former Vice President Kamala Harris just made a statement that's shaking the political landscape, and it's something no one saw coming. In her exclusive interview with Eugene Daniels, Harris didn't just speak as a politician. She spoke as a former prosecutor, a woman who's spent her entire career inside the justice system, and her words hit hard. I don't know if we can trust what's coming out of the Department of Justice right now. That one line, calm, controlled, but heavy, sent ripples through Washington. Because when someone like Kamala Harris questions the very system she once helped uphold, you know something deeper is going on.
What the DOJ does, and you know this better than I do, is so fundamental to the backbone of the country, right? Yeah. The rule of law versus the rule of men. Can Americans trust the criminal justice system right now and what's coming out of the DOJ?
I don't know if we can trust what's coming out of the Department of Justice right now. And that pains me to say that as someone who spent the majority of my career as a prosecutor, where the work of a prosecutor should be to do justice. Many who have worked as U.S. attorneys, worked for the U.S. Department of Justice, talk openly and rightly about the fact that they should do their work without any fear and not in the interest of favor. And that so clearly is not what is ruling the day there. And when you have an administration and individuals who are manipulating the justice system of America in that way, they best understand that this is not only about something that affects the individuals that they're targeting. This affects all of us who believe that, flawed though it may be, that a justice system is actually supposed to be blind in the way that it does its work, not targeting people because of who they are, or for that matter, what they look like.
Now imagine the tension inside the DOJ itself. Career officials who've dedicated their lives to upholding the Constitution suddenly being caught between duty and politics. That's the picture Harris is painting, a system fighting for its own soul. And here's what makes this moment truly dramatic. This isn't just about the Trump administration. It's about what kind of nation America is becoming. If justice bends once, what stops it from bending again? You can almost hear the frustration in her voice, not just with Trump, but with the idea that truth and fairness could be reduced to tools of power. Her tone wasn't explosive, it was reflective, almost mournful, like someone watching something sacred fall apart. And that's what draws people in. She's not ranting, she's pleading for the country to see what's happening before it's too late.
Kamala Harris tends to want to be with her answers and how precisely she's going to structure whatever, new line she's going to push on that. And in line by in the sense that she's going further than she normally would in saying, like, yes, it is legitimate to have confidence issues in the DOJ around this type of corruption.
Analyst Jake Sherman put it best when he said Trump's actions reflect the transactional nature of his administration. Everything is personal. Everything is about loyalty. In that world, justice isn't blind, it's targeted. And it's not just Democrats who should be worried. Even Trump's own allies are starting to feel the heat. Take Pam Bondi, for example, once one of Trump's most loyal defenders, now reportedly falling out of favor within his inner circle. Insiders say her standing is really bad. Why? Some point to her handling of cases related to Jeffrey Epstein. Others believe she simply isn't moving fast enough in Trump's campaign of political vengeance. It's a disturbing picture. One where the Justice Department isn't guided by fairness or truth, but by personal grudges. And that's exactly when analysts like Maria Teresa Kumar warned about. Justice should never depend on who's in power, she said, urging Americans to see how dangerous this cycle has become. Because when one side uses the law for political gain, the other side will inevitably retaliate. It's a loop of revenge that drags the entire nation down. Ask yourself this: if leaders can use justice as a tool of punishment, who's really safe? Who decides what's right or wrong when justice itself becomes political currency? These aren't just theoretical questions. They're questions about America's future. Because today it might be Trump's enemies. Tomorrow it could be yours.
Okay, right? And I think when you look, I think she's right? Justice should be blind, right? I worked for a former U.S. attorney who, when he was U.S. attorney, he put both Republicans and Democrats in jail because they were doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? And, your political orientation shouldn't matter, right? And I think, this also goes back to, I think, just larger trust issues in general we've had with our institutions, and specifically.
For decades, the Department of Justice was viewed as the last line of defense for truth, the place where politics stopped and fairness began. But now, even that faith seems to be fading. Harris's warning about manipulation inside the DOJ reflects something deeper. The growing belief that justice in America depends on who's in power, not what's right. And that idea is terrifying. Because once trust is broken, laws lose their meaning, and citizens lose their confidence in the very system meant to protect them. Analyst Maria Teresa Kumar captured it perfectly when she said, "Justice should never depend on who's in power." Yet that's exactly what many Americans believe is happening. Both sides bending the law, using litigation as a political weapon, and turning investigations into acts of revenge. The result, a democracy that feels less like a system of checks and balances and more like a battleground of egos. But let's be honest, this isn't just a Trump-era problem. It's a national one. Over the years, every administration has been accused at some point of using justice for political advantage. What's different now is the intensity, the open talk of retribution, the public distrust, the erosion of respect for once sacred institutions. It's as if the rule of law itself is being tested, pulled apart, and questioned on live television. And that brings us to a painful truth. When people stop believing in justice, they stop believing in democracy. Because justice is the foundation. It's what gives citizens hope that no matter how powerful someone is, they're still accountable. When that faith disappears, chaos fills the void.
Now, I tried to ask follow-up questions here about Jeff Epstein, and no one wanted to bring that up. But clearly, Lutnick and Bondi having these sort of, unforced errors around Epstein, and the fact that that seems to draw more ire from Trump's advisors than the stuff we've seen from Hegseth, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem. I can keep going, but